Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, sir. We'll start the session in 2 minutes.
Yeah, good afternoon. Yeah, we can.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, I'm Chandushi Vayach, Vice President of Invigorate, the Consumer Club. I welcome everyone to the session. Now I call upon Anush R to welcome the attendees.
Good afternoon, everyone. I, Anushar, cordially welcome our teacher coordinators, Indu Ma'am and Sindhu Bhairavi Ma'am, to all my fellow students. I would like to extend a warm welcome to the speaker of today's session, Gopal Ratnam Shah, the Secretary of Consumer Care Society. Thank you for accepting our club invitation, sir. The club is formally inaugurated on 23rd November. We at Invigorate aim at consumer rights and related information to the crowd at large through our projects. We are starting our first project today, the webinar on Consumer Protection Act 2019 and consumer rights, which highlights the importance of consumer awareness and an informed crowd. We extend a heartfelt welcome to each one of you. Hope you have an insightful session ahead. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Anush, and a warm welcome to all of you. Now I call upon Deepak K, the Joint Secretary of the club, to introduce to you a speaker of the today's session, Gopal Ratnam sir.
Good afternoon to everyone present here. I, Deepak K. am all one to introduce the speaker of today's session, Sir Gopal Ratnam. He is a mechanical engineer and has completed his MBA from IIM Bangalore. He was employed in 3 different companies during his corporate career. With experience in strategy, marketing, and projects, he was associated with 2 engineering products firm as an entrepreneur. He presently offers management consultancy services to both public and private sector. Sir Gopal Ratnam has been active in social service sector for a long period. He was the president of a Rotary Club and is the chairman for an NGO named Ashraya. He is currently the secretary of Consumer Care Society, which he joined in 1998. We cordially welcome you, sir, and we will be overwhelmed to hear from you and grasp the knowledge that we as consumers should possess. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak. Now I call upon the speaker, Gopal Ratnam sir, to deliver the subject. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon to all of you. I have spoken to you earlier also couple of times, but I'm sure there are a lot more new students who have joined us in the club activities. And to them and all of you again, once again, I welcome you to the Consumer Club at MES College. It is definitely a very important occasion for you and a very important decision that you have taken to become a member of this club. In fact, I would stress this because obviously I had mentioned to you earlier also that joining this club will give you a repertoire of skills and knowledge which will be useful to you throughout your life. And obviously here we have a meeting on a particular occasion which I will definitely share with you. And it is necessary for all of us to look at our role as a consumer in the future world. With this world, I would like to go ahead with the presentation, and I would like to keep it interactive. That's precisely why I would like you to participate in it, and sometimes I would ask you questions. I would ask you, hopefully I would request you to answer it through the chat mechanism so that we get some feedback on what the whole process is. Okay, and right now I'll be sharing my presentation, and in case if it's visible, please say so, and whether my voice is audible also. If there is any issue, please let me know through the chat.
Not switched on the mic.
Yeah, can you see the slide? Hello? Can you
Yes,
see
sir.
the
We can,
presentation?
sir.
Anybody can see it?
Yes, we can, sir.
Yeah, good, fine. And my voice is also audible. Good. Let's get on to the topic that we have today, which of course was already mentioned to you. But before we go get deep into it, I have a statement here which I think many of you would have heard earlier also. Consumer is the king. And of course, this statement is before you. How many of you agree with this, that the consumer is the king? You can say yes in the chat, or if some of you feel that is not true, you can say no in the chat. Please respond. I think hopefully you should. Okay, some of you have raised your hands. That's quite good. Basically saying if consumer is the king, you are raising your hand, right? Okay. Okay, fine. I'm getting responses, but majority of the responses have always has been yes. Obviously, do I agree with it? Okay. Well, let's see. Maybe at the end of the presentation, maybe we'll have a look at this. Okay, now let us look at what the issue here is. We are talking about CPA 2019 and consumer right. That's the particular topic that we have before us this afternoon. And of course, here CPA stands for Consumer Protection Act of 2019, which was passed in 2019 and implemented from 2020. I think some of you have this as a part of your business from a different angle. So now here, I'm going to say we all of us, there's been sitting in your room or in a classroom or other places, me sitting here in my office, we all say that yes, consumer. Okay, what is the meaning of this yes, consumer? Now I have different words for this yes here, and let me start with the most simple thing. I call us all of us as simple consumers. Now you purchase throughout our life. I'm sure all of us would agree. Those who are even geeks or who are very knowledgeable about a product will definitely agree with me when I say that our knowledge about that product is very, very less. Take a car, for example. We may know something about the car, but how the car functions, what are the materials that are used in the car. Okay, these things we really don't know. When the car could likely to fail, what are the different components that are there. So you find even for a mechanical engineer or an automobile engineer, you find that if it's outside of the industry, he's only a consumer buying this product, he just has got a very simple kind of knowledge. Okay, so obviously we lack a lot of knowledge as far as the products that we consume are there. For example, even take a much more simpler kind of product, milk, for example. I think, I don't know how many of you know what is a solid product, I mean solid milk product there. What is the fatty acid? What is the saturated fatty acid? Okay, all these are words which make no sense to us. We daily consume milk-based product, we have coffee, tea. So obviously we could call ourselves as simple consumers. Okay, and what is the consequence of that? You may see on your screen, you may see an electric scooter. This was something which was happening in the beginning of this year, when you found that across the country, there are many electrical scooters that was catching on fire. Of course, I don't want to go into the brand which had this problem or what was the nature of the problem. That is not for us. But the important thing is this was happening across the country, and there was again incidences of your mobile phone while charging getting burnt out, sometimes bursting into flames, causing serious harm to the person using the mobile phone. So again, these stories are available on the social media, are available on the newspaper, so for all of us to see. What exactly went wrong here? Again, as I said, why did the consumers purchase this product? Obviously, we'll look at it a little later. So we are all simple consumers who buy products based on the advertisement we see or based on maybe other information sources that we access to. So I'll again go see that, and we'll look at the issues that can come about. Okay, so if you talk about consumers per se, you find that there are issues that are faced by consumers throughout. Okay, one is, as I just mentioned, poor product quality or inferior product quality or unsafe product qualities. Okay, products. Okay, so that is something that we face in our daily life and throughout our life. So unsafe products. What are the other issues? Okay, of course, poor customer service. Okay, it could be in a hotel, it could be in a cinema theater, it could be anywhere. Okay, then of course, supply of defective goods and substandard goods. Okay, not up to the mark. Okay, laid down by organization like the BIS or ISI or any other organization which says that the product should conform to a particular standard.
So slides, we cannot see the slides.
You can't see now?
So we can see the only one slides, the first slides.
Only the first slide?
Yes, sir.
Oh, 1 second. I'm going from the first. You can see the slide? This one?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No,
We can.
yeah. Okay. I'll just take a couple of seconds. So these were the earlier slides I showed you about a visual about electrical scooter burning in some part of the country. Okay, the beginning of this year, as I mentioned. Then you have a picture of a mobile phone which has burst into flame while charging. Obviously, there's something wrong with the battery that had happened. Okay, so what I meant is that you have these products which are being sold to us, which are unsafe products and which could cause harm or even could result in death. Okay, and this is something that we are all aware of. Okay, then of course there is another issue that we all face, which is poor consumer service. Okay, this could be, as I told you, in restaurants, cinema, theater, hospitals, name it, any place where there is service being provided. And then you have the supply of defective goods and substandard goods not conforming to some norm, as I told you, which is BIS norms or ISI norms, UG marks. So there are many such things that are there, and obviously some of them do not conform to it. One classic example could be for helmets. I think those of you who use two-wheelers should know that you should use an ISI marked helmet or BS mark helmet. And the important thing is it protects your head. And of course, in many cases, it helps you to avoid serious injuries to the head. And in unfortunate situations, could also protect you if there is a head injury. Okay, so selling above MRP, that MRP, I think all of you know, maximum retail price. There, you go to a shop, the shopkeeper tells you a price, very common in rural areas and semi-urban areas, but also happens in cities. Okay, then unauthorized sales of products where a particular retailer is not supposed to sell, he sells the product. And in this case, I would talk about drugs. I'm talking about medicines which are there, which should not be sold without a doctor's prescription. Okay, so you find this kind of, then there is this defective advertising or misleading advertising. So you find that there are a whole lot of issues that we face as a consumers. Okay, and this is not in one particular product category, it's across all products. Okay, and I maybe in some time later if we come across a situation. Okay, so the question is, okay, we talked about an S customer. I said we are simple consumers or simple customers. Then you can use another word for this S also. We can say we are silent consumers. Why do I say silent? Because many of the times what happens is studies have shown, not only in this country, but across the world, that 96% of the consumers do not complain. This is a benchmark. Okay, and you find that most of the times what we do is, okay, either the product is of low value, maybe 50 rupees to 30 rupees, and maybe we are rushed, we don't have the time. And so we find that we don't complain. We say, who will complain? Again, I called up, the number was busy, or I was put on hold. Okay, so you find that most of the times the consumer does not complain, and he's a silent consumer. And as a result of it, so you can talk about another S customer, we suffer as a consequences. We are all suffering consumers. We suffer. Sometimes because of our suffering, we tell our friends, relations, we had what problem we had. In fact, you would be surprised to know every day I get 2-3 calls every day about some consumer across the country having some problem with the product or services he was planning to purchase. So we suffer, and many times I find that they're very upset because they did something, and unfortunately the company, please understand, it's not only small companies, but even big companies interact in such a way that the consumer experience is very bad. Okay, and so you find that we are all, again, another S customers, suffering consumers. Okay, so the question is, what is that we need to do? When I say we as individual consumers, and of course, if you look at it, we have an organization which we call the Consumer Care Society, which we represent, and which is associated with you as the consumer club level. So how do you protect this consumer? That is you and me. Then we say this consumer should become a smart consumer. Another yes, smart consumer. Now you may ask me, what is smart, sir? Of course, some of you would have heard about street smart, but it's not exactly street smart. Street smart means, okay, you know it, but here we have a particular definition, at least I do have. And I will say here, a smart consumer has some of the qualities, skills, and attitudes which I'm listing here. One is he has to be aware and observant. Understand, this is very, very important. It's not only when you are a consumer, but it is equally holds good if you are a student, if you are in a business meeting. Please understand, all these skills are essential wherever you go. Okay, so you have to be aware and observant. You have to be constant what's happening around you through using your senses, which is your ears and your eyes. So you have to ask and listen. Again, here is you should please question. Now, this is something that unfortunately most of us lose the skill when you join the school and college, because right from younger age we are told to keep quiet because for various reasons, okay, at home and in the school. So, but the important thing is, if you want to know something, you have to ask. Okay, otherwise you will find it difficult to learn something new. Okay, and of course, asking the question, you get an answer, you should be able to listen. So again, asking skills, that is asking the questions and listening to the answers. Then of course, you should be able to talk. That means, you should be able to influence the person who you are interacting with, talk to him, convince him. And of course, all this is part of the learning process. So again, everything which is very common to many situations in our life. And as a consequence of all some of these actions that we do, we become a little more knowledgeable about the product and services, about the company, how to use a product. So that is important. So we learn the skills and we improve our knowledge, and ultimately what happens, because of the knowledge we have, we are able to think in a particular way. We'll see what this thinking is. This is the most essential thing. I keep telling anybody I meet, whether it's an executive or a young student in a school, I tell them that the thinking is what differentiates us. Because the thinking is based on the thinking, then we have this quality of judgment. We decide on certain things. Okay, in fact, we look throughout our life, we are constantly deciding. Take this program, for example, you decided to attend or not to attend. Okay, you decided to pay attention or not to pay attention. So you find that there is constant decision making that is going on throughout our life, and it is important for us to make good decisions. That is why we put good judgment, and that is the last. If you make good judgment throughout your life and all the decisions that you have, you will find ultimately you have a successful life. So this is what I've been telling you, and we would like to stress this point throughout our activities, interaction with you. And that is what we mean by smart consumer. So let's move on to something which is here. Of course, on the right side of your screen, you see there is a logo. This is a logo of Government of India, and it says Jago, Grahak, Jago. This has been there for quite some years, and obviously it means wake up, consumer, wake up. Okay, Jago is basically in Hindi. So it says, get up, wake up, consumer, wake up, because the consumer is sleeping. He's not aware, he's not observant, he doesn't listen, etc., etc. Okay, so you find that, and I have highlighted here knowledge, because if you look at it, that's the core thing. That is what makes us different. That's what makes us smart. Okay, when we say somebody is smart, we basically mean he's knowledgeable. Okay, so that is where we are looking at the knowledge part of it. And so today our focus is on this aspect. Okay, we are talking about knowledge that we need to gain, not knowledge that is there in the classroom, not knowledge that we get from the textbooks. Okay, that is one part of the knowledge that we all of us need for maybe a job or to earn our livelihood. But there is a lot of other things that we need. For example, we need knowledge about product and services. We need knowledge about consumer rights. We need knowledge about the consumer responsibilities. So you find that there are a whole lot of knowledge that you need as a smart consumer. And I'm not going to list everything. I've listed some 4 or 5 here. Yeah, the law and redressal mechanism. So there are certain things that we should be knowledgeable as a consumer. And I again repeat it, this statement of mine may be a cliche now. We are consumers right from womb to tomb, right from the day we are born to the day we die. So we are consumers throughout. Okay, the chair we are sitting, or the bed that you are lying on, or the laptop that you're using, the mobile phone you're using, okay, the broadband services that you're using, everything is product and services. Okay, so you find you have a pen, pencil maybe on the desk next to you. So it's product throughout. So, and that is precisely why you need to be knowledgeable about many of these aspects. But we will focus on one which is very important today, and that is on the consumer rights. Okay, and what is this consumer rights? We will just see, and why is it important? But before that, of course, you see the graphic which is there on the screen, which says National Consumers Day. I think many of you may be aware. This was on 24th of December. It is celebrated every year, 24th of December, and this happened a few days back, 24th of December 2022. And we are talking in context of that particular event. Okay, we did not have it on 24, obviously for various reasons, but we thought we will hold this particular webinar in commemorating that particular event. Okay, so in this case, we need to know who is a consumer. Can some of you say who is a consumer? Who, in your opinion, can you list it? Can you say who's a consumer according to you? You can just put it in the chat. Who's a consumer? Anybody has an idea? Of course, I've always said, don't say somebody who consumes. Of course, that's one of the possible ways of explaining. Yeah, we are all consumers, agreed. But what do you mean by a consumer? Yeah, okay. I see some responses saying end user of the product. Very good. Okay, so he's the end user of the product. We need to understand that he's the end user of the product. Okay, but here I'm going to have a much more clarity on this, because it's obviously very important for us to understand, because we are also talking in respect to the Consumer Protection Act. What does the Act talk about it? Okay, and here I've of course taken some words from the Act, but I also added something so that make the concept a little more clearer. Very simple, a consumer is someone who buys or consumes or uses up something. Okay, you consume. That is the whole word, how you consume. You eat up something, you use up something. Okay, so, and also the person who buys it. Okay, the person who buys it is also called a consumer. Though, of course, if you get into consumer behavior, which I told was one of your subject, we again subdivide this role into smaller components. Okay, for example, a buyer, a purchaser, a user, a financier. Okay, so you can break it down further. Okay, for example, I may finance the product, but my wife may buy a product for my son to use it. Okay, so you find there are three different people doing three different sub roles for consumer, or it may be only me. I put my own money, I go to a hotel and I eat there. So I'm everything. I buy, I eat, I consume. So you find that we may be doing all the sub roles ourselves. But right now you can take anybody performing any aspect of this role is a buys, consumes, or uses is a thing. And of course, anything I say about product holds good for services. Okay, and here. Here, as I said, a person who purchases goods or services, personal, that means self and family use. So just to clarify things. Okay. And the second thing is we talked about consumer rights. Can somebody tell me what is a right? Of course, this is not the right and wrong that you see on your answer script. Is it right and wrong? But what do you mean by a right? What do you mean by a right? Anything. I mean, please, as I said, now, I mean, this is the place. Learning is the place where, college is the place, and this particular webinar is a place where you and me, both of us are learning. Through your responses, I'm learning something. So through my talk, you are learning something. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm saying, what do you mean by a right? And some of you have said authority. Well, yeah, authority is there, but I mean, can you be a little more nuanced, little more specific in terms of right? What does the right mean? I think you know the Constitution of India. We have what is called fundamental rights. For example, right to life. Okay, right to free speech. Okay, so these are some of the rights which are listed in our Constitution. Okay, there is another set of thing which is called human rights. So what is the rights in this context? I mean, see, right and wrong.
Rules and regulations given to consumers by the government through.
Okay, fine. Good. I think somebody has said. See, when we talk about the Constitution, you are right. What right I have as a citizen in this country, and which the Constitution provides me, and any government which comes into power assures me that I have that right. Okay, I will use a word. Please keep this in mind sometime. It is every citizen can make a claim. He says, I have the right. You can go and claim from the government, say, I have a right to life. You, as a government, have to provide me for that. So we make a claim on the government. Okay, so we have, somebody has used the word, so I'll just use it. You have an authority on the government to demand from them, listen, I have a right to life. Okay, so right to livelihood, that means jobs. That's why the government, we go and ask the government, where is my job? Any government for that matter. Because the government is supposed to give you that. It is obligated to give you. There's an obligation, there's a duty on the part of the government to give you a job. It has to do that. That's what the fundamental rights is all about. It is a relationship between each citizen and the government that is there. But here the right is same thing. So what is a right is very simple. You can take this word. It is a claim or a legal privilege. Please understand it's legal. Something you can go to the court and say, listen, I have this right and I'm being denied this right. Another word you can use is I'm entitled to this. That means I should be given this. This is an entitlement. For example, you may go to your father and say, no, listen, you as my father has to buy this product for me. You have to, because you are my father. Okay, so you believe you are entitled to that. Okay, so that is what it means. So you have a right towards these kind of claims, and these claims are made against the government and businesses, both. We'll see why it is so. So it's a legal privilege. Okay, it is something that is given to you as a privilege. and an entitlement, and very importantly, it is protected. It's not just said and then you forget about it. Okay, it is protected by a law. That's why it's called a legal privilege. So that is the most important thing. Please keep that in mind. The second definition is just more broad basing it. It says rules which comes out of the legal, social convention and all kinds of theories. So that's the most important. So it's a right. So here we are talking about rights of consumer. That means what right, what entitlement you and me, what privileges you and me have in this country, which is protected by a law. So that I can claim it against the government, I can claim it against other people, other entities like company and businesses. So I have a right to go and ask them for this. Okay, so that is what we mean by right. So here, if you look at it, yeah, I have listed one right. Are you aware of any other right? I've said right to safety. We have discussed that in a very indirect manner by saying products are not safe. So we as consumers have a right to get good products in the marketplace, which are safe for us to use, buy and use. So there's a right to safety. Are there any other rights that you are aware of? Can you list? Anybody can say what other rights you have as a consumer? Not fundamental rights, sir. Right as a consumer. Those are rights as citizens. Anything else? If you look at what we do as a consumer, look at what are the other kinds of rights we may have. Oh yeah, yes, very important. You are all right. I think that very clearly says you are all citizens and consumers of the information age. The most important, one of the most important things we all have is the right to be informed, or the right to get information. Please understand, we need information. Without information, you can't be knowledgeable. Without knowledge, you can't make decisions. Without information, you can't decide. So information is very, very, very essential. I think now we all know that. Okay, so right to be informed. So any other right? Obviously, let me give you a small hint. There are 6 rights which are, let's say, guaranteed or assured to us under the legal framework that we have in this country. Please understand, some other countries have many more. In fact, right now, the government of India is considering another right, which is called the right to repair. REPA, repair, repairing a product, right to repair. They are trying to formulate a law regarding that. So that is still not guaranteed by a legal act, but it is coming. But right now we have 6 rights which are guaranteed to us, or the privileges we have. So we have already listed 2. Any other right? Oh, yes, you're right. I think we'll get, somebody has said right to choose. Correct. Please understand, we all talk about freedom. Right from the small child till we pass away, everybody says, I want to be free. What does freedom actually mean? Many people think freedom means escaping from rules and laws. No, it is not that. Freedom means choosing, the ability to choose on our own. That means we choose, not somebody chooses for us. So here also you see, the freedom should be given to the consumer to choose. We should not be forced to buy a product. Okay, so the right to choose. Let's look at the other rights. So we talk about, we said consumers should be able to tell, ask and also tell. We talked about it. A smart consumer should tell. Now the question is, if you tell, there should be somebody to hear it. So the right to be heard is also there, guaranteed there for you. It says that the consumer talks, well, you're obligated to listen. Okay, you're obliged to listen, the duty to listen. Okay, and then you have a right to redressal. We'll see what this is. Okay, if some of you know the word, fine, good, but otherwise we'll just cover it a little later. And the last right I'm looking at is right to consumer education. Of course, please understand the words can be slightly different in the following slides, but keep in mind this thing. So you have, I'll just go through it run once. So all of us are clear about the 6 rights. Right to safety, right to be informed, right to choose, right to be heard, right to redressal, right to consumer education. Okay, then what do you mean? I'll just run through this, of course, just to get the right to consumer awareness. And I use the word in the earlier slide as education and also awareness, because the new act talks about consumer awareness, not the education. So I will use both awareness and education. Awareness means you know what is happening around you. Simple. And education means, since you know what is around you, you take it in. Okay, you get yourself educated. That means you build up your knowledge, And then the idea is that nobody should exploit you. That is what knowledge to prevent exploitation. Please understand, you are all BCom students. I've done my MBA. So we are all going to get into business, or we have been in business. But let me tell you, all said and done, today we talk about CSR. Those of you know CSR is called corporate social responsibility. But ultimate goal of all business, or let me tell you, the basic goal of business, or the prime purpose why a business comes into operation, is to make profit. Okay, without profit, all the other the goals and objectives do not fructify. They don't happen. So, but what happens in this process to make profit? Sometimes companies indulge in profiteering, and as a consequence of it, the consumer gets exploited. So we get exploited. Okay, we can talk about this when we do some of the project. We'll understand it better. When I make a statement like this, when I say this, I'm saying it with all honesty and with all my knowledge. All of us get exploited all the time. Now you may say this is very dangerous statement to make, because you're saying all is used, all like it is true. Okay, so the important thing is we constantly need ourselves to keep getting educated, and the right to education is one of the things. Okay, and then the right to be informed. This is very important, because what information should the companies give? Because the right to education, though sometimes the government helps you, there's an obligation on the government. We'll see where it comes. For example, the regulators. Regulators are people who regulate sectors. Like for example, TRI is there, which regulates telecom sector. IRDA is there, which regulates the insurance sector. Yes, RBI is there, which regulates the banking sector. SEBI is there, which regulates the capital market. So you find these are the few regulators which are there. So they also try to educate the customers, because it's one of their objectives. The government, when I mean government, I'm talking about this. Of course, the government department, the consumer department of consumer affairs also runs a lot of programs. So in addition to that, you find businesses have got the duty and obligation to inform consumers. What is the information they have to provide? Very simple. There are very specific areas they should provide information on. And these are things that you should be clear. Quality, quantity, the potency, that's the power. Okay, purity, standard, prices. Please understand, prices of product and service, as case may be, to protect the consumer from unfair practices. So it is obligatory on the seller, okay, to give you this information. Okay, so you have this information with you, because of this, then you can go ahead and make the right choices, and you are protected. You don't buy a product which is inferior in quality. You don't buy a product which is unsafe to you or your children, or to you or anybody else in your household. So the right to be protected is there. And obviously against the marketing of goods which is hazardous to life and property. So not only to life, but also to property, but also to life. So it is important. Okay. For example, cars were not with seat belts earlier. So it was mandated that cars should have belts. First with the driver, then the passenger was given. Now the passenger seated in the rear seat have to be provided. Airbags have to be provided. So these are the kind of protection that is given. And cars have to be only be sold with these things, and if they are not, then obviously they can be hauled up. If some of the safety features are not of good quality, they can be hauled up. So you find that these are the things that we have to know before we purchase those kinds of products. Okay, and then the right to be assured. Of course, here we are talking about the right, wherever the possible. Here we are talking about another thing. Assured in sense what? Wherever possible, there's a variety of goods and product and services, competitive rate. Now, this is the word that is used in the acts. I'm using it, but we saw it in the earlier slide as a right to choose. So when you are given a variety of product and services, then you have the option of choosing. Otherwise, you're in a monopoly where there's only a single seller. You don't have a choice. For example, the electricity that we get at home, it's a service that is being provided, it's a utility. But we don't have an option in Bangalore, for example. Okay, you have to only take power from Bescom. Now, whatever the quality that the person provides, of course, there are mechanisms that are in place today, but then you have no choice. Okay, so what is happening is, it's obligatory on the government to provide you with these choices. So the government tries to, let's say, bring in newer players into it, liberalize the sector, so that more and more players come in, so that the consumer is given the choice. So, and very importantly, at competitive price. That is why you have the Competition Commission of India, where if there is anti-competitive practices, they step in. Okay, so you see how this is wholly integrated. Government facilitates the creation of a marketplace where there are many players come in. There's no hurdles for newer and newer sellers to come in. Okay, for example, licenses were removed. What was the idea? When you liberalize like this, anybody can enter any sector, and obviously you have more sellers, then buyers get more choices. So you find that that is what the government is facilitating. So there is a right for you. In fact, you can go and tell the government, which many times we do from Consumer Care Society. We go and tell the government, listen, if there is only one seller or one service provider in this case, which is not providing good product or good service, we want you to open up the sector. Okay, and they do it. Of course, there are many hurdles in this process, but yes, over a period of time, this has been happening. So that's another right we have, right to choose. And that is also called the right to be assured of variety of product. Then the right to be heard. And here what happens is that if you as a consumer have some grievance or even an opinion or even a feedback, the seller should be willing to listen to you and should have channels of communication which are open for the consumer to contact him. And in today's world, when you have multiple channels of communication, it could be an app, it could be the email, it could be the mobile phone, it could be any one of these devices. So there is many avenues available to the consumer to voice his opinion and grievance. I'm not bringing in grievance means basically you have a problem with the seller, but then this is available to you. Okay, and it is so you find that many a times government steps in because there's a right to be heard. So government steps in and mandates certain kinds of steps that the company should take. I'll just give an example. Recently, for e-commerce firms, the government insisted that every website should have, for example, the grievance officer's name, his telephone number, his email ID, because there are a lot of problems with e-commerce. Okay, I think maybe a couple of times earlier I've told you, but maybe some other time we'll have the opportunity to discuss. Either I will do it or maybe some of my other members may speak to you about that e-commerce issues. But then that is the thing. So government says, no, right, the consumer has taken a product, he should be given enough facilities to talk to you about his opinion, his views and his grievance. So the right to be heard is another thing. And the last right is the right to seek redressal. So we are going through a series. We start with the information, then we start with the right product, then we say that if you have some issues with the product, you should be able to talk to a manufacturer. Then we come to the last right, which is seek redressal. For example, the buyer finds that the seller is indulging in some malpractices. He is indulging in some trade practices, unfair, restrictive trade. For example, MRP, the maximum retail price. He's selling above the MRP. He's selling a product which is beyond the expiry date. He's having advertisement which is misleading, which is deceptive in nature. Now, the problem is he tries to speak to the manufacturer is not willing to hear him. Okay, what do you do under such circumstances is that, yes, you have a problem, you have a grievance, so there should be another avenue, another place for you to voice this grievance and get it redressed. That means get it resolved or solved. So, and that is why the government has provided a separate mechanism for this. In addition to the other mechanisms which are available, which were available to us earlier, now there's a separate mechanism which is available to us, which were earlier called the consumer forums. They were called consumer forum. They are quasi-judicial. That means partly judicial and partly judicial, not 100% judicial. They're partly judicial. Okay, to make it easy for the consumer to get his problems resolved. Now, of course, it's not called consumer forum, it is called consumer commission. But also, let me tell you, the normal parlance in colloquially, we call it consumer court. Okay, though it is not a court in that sense. Okay, that is why we call it quasi-judicial. It's called the consumer commission. It is available at every district headquarters. Now, you can go there and complain against it. Okay, and complain against the seller saying that this is a problem I face, represent your situation to the people there who will look into the issue and see what kind of redressal mechanism, how they can help you out with your problem. So you find that these are the 6 rights which are basically there. Yeah, before I go ahead, is there any questions? Have you any doubts or any clarification? Because I have almost covered 85% of the thing, and I have just about another 4-5 slides to go through, which is on an important area. Any questions or any opinion? If you feel you want to talk, maybe unmute your mic and just voice it, no problem. Unmute your mic and tell me if you have an issue. Once, is there any messages here? No. Yeah. Okay. I think maybe I'll again stop at the end of the talk and look at it. Yeah. So what has happened is these are the rights that is part of the act, and this act was actually implemented, passed in the year 1986, as you can see from the slide. 1986, for the first time, consumers in this country got a legal framework, a legal mechanism to get their issues and get their rights. Okay, bring it. So, and the bill received the presidential assent on 24th December 1986 and then became an act on that day. And that is why we celebrate the National Consumers Day on December 24th. Okay, because that's the first time the bill became an act. Okay, but then what happened is that that is why 24th December, this is the last last National Consumer Day celebration that we have. These are the graphics that were distributed. I gave you one. And then what happened is, after a long period of time, in 2019, this act was totally revamped. And that's why you have a new act, which is called the Consumer Protection Act of 2019. This is more comprehensive and more contemporary. That means it suits the current environment that we are in. Okay, so after almost 25 years, now you find that there is a new act that is in place. Okay, which addresses many of the issues. Of course, this act also has some lacunae. There are some issues related to this act also, but it is much better than the earlier act. And I'll just list some of the things. Of course, I'm not going to cover any of them in depth, because we may have, depending on the interest level you have, because we would have one more detailed presentation on the Consumer Act per se, but I'll just list some of them. Why it is so essential for us to look at this act. For example, earlier there was no e-commerce. In 1986, there was no e-commerce. There were only offline sellers whom you went to a shop and purchased it. So e-commerce was an issue. It's been included in this act. Direct selling is another thing. There were a lot of issues with direct selling, where companies were selling to people, multi-level marketing, for example. I think some of you may be aware of. I don't want to name the firms, but you know where they sell plasticware. They were selling all kinds of things. They're selling beauty products. They were selling other items through direct selling. And many of the times, it was very difficult to get their problem solved, because products were sold by friends and relations, and they did not know where to go and get the problem solved. Okay, then there is an important couple of things which were introduced. Product liability. What happens if there is some big problem with the design of a product? As a consequence, somebody suffers to loss of property or loss of life. So those kinds of things were not there earlier. You have to go to the court and the court will decide. So it was a mechanism which was there. But now this is brought under a separate section which is called the product liability. Then you have misleading advertisement. This is a nice, interesting topic. Maybe definitely we should look at it, because all of us think that advertisements are very easy to read and very understand, but there are a lot of advertisements which are misleading. Maybe we should also do something in this. We'll look at it maybe as a project later on. Then we talk about this endorsers. For example, film actors, cricketers, they're all endorsed products. For example, Virat Kohli does it. Amitabh Bachchan is one of the celebrity endorsers who's endorsing right from pens, etc. Shah Rukh Khan is done for cars and insurance, many other products. So they are all endorsers, Hema Malini, and many of the times people buy this product because it has been endorsed by somebody whom they like, somebody who is well known. And there were issues regarding this which had come up, and there are now certain liabilities that the endorsers face. That means there is some punishment which is given to them, so that they don't endorse product without a thought. They also have to think which product they will endorse. So it's important so that they don't mislead the public by their endorsement. Then there is unfair contract. I think you would have had a Contract Act, and there is a void contract, voidable contract, and there is now this unfair contract. I think unfair contract, very easily put it. Many times, if you look at an insurance, whether it's health or life, or you look at any website, you find that there are so many terms, terms and conditions for using a website or buying an insurance, and you just click. Now, many of these contracts are very unfair to the person buying or the person using the website. So obviously, what is an unfair contract? Okay, so those are issues. In fact, the Supreme Court had earlier decided on what was some issues of unfair contract. Now they made it part of this act. Then unfair trade practices, the whole list of it. Then you have ADR, which is called the alternate dispute resolution mechanism, which there is mediation, which is very important. It makes things very faster. And then you have now a central authority, which is there in place, which helps to take up issues which are broad-based, affects many consumers. As a group, as a class of consumers, it is affecting not individual consumers. As a group, it affects. Then these people take it. They even take it on their own accord, which is called suo motu. They take it on their own. Nobody has to go and complain to them. So they take up that issue. So you find that these are some of the salient features. As I told you, each one is important and each one is interesting, and each one, if some of you are interested, you can look at it and maybe we can talk about it. So I said, who's the consumer? Then we see that these are some of the lists. And again, here you will see there are little more expansion of who's the consumer under this particular act. And here, just to give you an example, if you buy a copying machine and you start a photocopying center at your home, you still fall under a consumer. You are a consumer because you use it for self-employment. So though you are not consuming it, using it in the typical sense, the court has said it because this person is a single person using it for his livelihood. So it should be considered, though there is a commercial element. That means the person buying it is using to make copies and sell that copies. He's making money out of it. So it's actually a commercial thing. But this is an extension of the definition of consumers that we normally had given at the beginning of the talk. So this is an extension. So it actually helps a lot of people, small people who buy many products, okay, for their own self-employment purposes. They are safeguarded. And I think it's a very good, interesting thing, especially in Indian context where the large number of people self-employed. Okay, so you find, and then anybody who uses goods and services with the consent of the consumer. That means the product I buy and purchase, but I allow somebody else to use it. And obviously he also falls under the title of a consumer. So again, much more broader thing. So it helps many more people to come under the ambit of the word consumer. Okay, and of course, who's not a consumer? Again, here, the main thing is somebody who's buying and reselling it, somebody who's using for commercial purposes. If you don't pay, if you get it free, then obviously you're not a consumer. That is why typically if you go to a government hospital where they don't charge you, it's a free treatment available. Tomorrow you cannot sue the government hospital because the treatment you received is free. And even if the quality of treatment is poor, you cannot. Of course, there are certain other things you can sue them under. For example, if there has been medical negligence, then of course, that's a different thing. But not for the quality of treatment because it is free. Anything given free does not come under the Consumer Protection Act. Okay, of course, complaint. Again, I've just listed this slide and the next slide just to tell you the whole lot of things which come under complaint. I will not go into it. What are the things that come under it? For example, we talked about unfair contract, unfair trade practices, goods which are hazardous to life, okay, deficiency of service. So and then any product which has a liability action. So all this will come under a complaint. Okay, so that's another thing. Now, the last small bit of it is I'm talking about each one of this consumer right come with a responsibility. There's a duty that we have. And this is far more important, because if you do not can do this duty, that means you don't do an action, then obviously the rights are of no use. Let me take for the right to, we all got the right to vote when you get the eligibility at the age of 21. But if you don't exercise it, then obviously you're wasting it. Tomorrow you can't go and say this particular government is not good, because you were given that right. Unless you go, it's a duty to go and elect whom you think is the right person, or which party you think is the right party. So it comes with concomitant. That means along with this thing, there is each one of this. So I'll just run through it. It's just nothing. Product safety is very simple. If you buy a product, you have to read the instructions and use it in the manner in which the product is supposed to be used. Very simple. Otherwise, you can't blame the manufacturer if you use it in a wrong way. Okay, for example, if the manufacturer said to what kind of electrical wiring it has been provided, or what speed it should be run under, you have to do it. If you don't do it, and obviously as a result the product fails or it gets damaged, he is not responsible. So the product safety, or as a consequence there is some harm to the individual or to his life. So again, that is there. Then responsibility, yeah, information is available, for example, maybe on the net, but you don't go around searching for it. In fact, one of the surprising things I see in the complaints that I receive is that people come there, sir, I didn't know this before. I say, why? It is available on the website. Why did you not see it? Okay, for example, the warranty terms is the product warranty terms for 6 months. I think I hope all of you know what a warranty is. But then some products is only 6 months. Some part of the product may be only for 6 months. We all assume that there is warranty. No, it may not be there. So please read it. So information may be available, but you have the responsibility to read the information. Okay, find where it is and then read it, understand it, and then use it. So you have a responsibility or an obligation to do. Then, of course, carefully take this information and make good decision. Choose carefully. Many times we choose in a haste, what we call as impulsive buying. We buy it on impulse. We see something and click. Now today, clicking has made impulsive buying much more common. Okay, because it's nothing. You see, earlier when you have to buy, you have to go to a shop. Maybe go out of the home, get dressed, go out, take a car or vehicle, maybe go a few meters or kilometers, go to the shop, park it, get in, remove the money from the pocket, etc., etc. So there is so much of thing that you do, so much of effort you have to put in. There is a lot of inertia, but today nothing. Sitting there wherever you are, you just click. So obviously you find with clicking, the impulsive buying has gone up. I think you know that. That means without thinking you buy. That has gone up, and naturally you can't blame the manufacturer tomorrow. You click for the wrong product, or you click something which you don't want to buy, then you click it, then obviously you are responsible. Then you have opinions, you have views, you are upset, you are angry, you are unhappy. Please share it with the manufacturer. You bring it to his notice, make sure, or the seller, and then make sure. So again, that's a responsibility of yours. The fifth is very simple. If you're not happy with it, again, go and seek redressal. Okay, that means put a case in the consumer court or the consumer commission as it is called now. Okay, take it up with the concerned the authorities, ensure that you get the final result to your satisfaction. With this, we come to the last possible slide. We talk about responsibility to the educated consumer. I put this the last because we started with this. It says the onus is on you today. What is the onus? What is the responsibility all of us undertake when we go into the marketplace today? Whether you are 5, 10, 15, 50. No, we are talking about you should have the knowledge and skill to buy a product, make the right decision. And what is this decision that we are talking? It enhances the well-being of individual, society, and environment. Today, look at it. I'm not only talking about the well-being of the individual. I'm talking about the well-being of the society and the environment. And we'll talk about this environment in a little more depth. Today, we are talking about climate change. I think all of you should be very concerned. In fact, I think if they want to use the word, you should be very worried. You should be scared. Much stronger term. Why? It is during your lifetime you're going to see the impact of the climate change much more. Because in the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, you are going to see the impact of what is happening because of this climate change. And so you have to be worried about it. So the well-being of the individual, the well-being of the society, and the well-being of the environment is in your hand. In your hand as a consumer. And as a necessary, you have to be educated. But I'm very happy that all of you are there today because you want to be educated. So obviously you have taken your responsibility seriously. You have become member of this consumer club, and today you have joined us for this program because this is what is necessary. Know your rights. The first step is, as an educated consumer, what are the rights I have? So I can go and demand this from somebody. Okay, having said this, as I said, what does a smart consumer do? Build awareness of things, support consumers, join and form or join consumer association club that promote the welfare of consumers. The last point is what you people have done, and you are in the process of becoming a smart consumer. Okay, with this, thank you. If you have any questions, please ask me. Please, you can do it in the chat box, or you can unmute and ask me directly. And normally I have a very, important way of doing it, and I always try to do it. Please ask me a couple of questions. I think the first step of being a smarter consumer, you're already smart, I said, but you have to become smarter and smarter and smarter. There's no end to it, by the way. Some people think you have become a smart consumer. No way. It's a process. Like everything is a process. There's no end. Okay, and in this process, I said asking anywhere is the first step. I'm sure I have 100 questions in the presentation I've made myself. I'm sure you will have a few questions at least. So you're at liberty to ask anything on the presentation I've given or anything connected with consumer issues. Yeah, anybody? Yes, I see a question here. Is it okay if I say the name of the person, or you don't want me to say the name? Because I thought it would be nice, because the question is also good. Is it okay? Yeah, Sharath, yes, Sharath, good question. How to claim a complaint against defective product and what is this procedure? See, of course, let me not go into the act straight away. The act has got a process. As I told you, it is a very simple process, but there are steps in the process. But the simplest way, what I have found is that approach the manufacturer, approach the seller. Why is it easy? Because generally, I'm using the word generally here, manufacturers and sellers want to maintain their reputation. I know you know in your accounts you have goodwill. And obviously goodwill, reputation management, all these are become important in today's world. So best thing is to go to the manufacturer and get it. We have got it done with many manufacturers, sellers. They have been very fair in how they have resolved the problem. So I would say that, okay. So, and many times, please understand, it doesn't happen because the manufacturer wants to cheat you or mislead you or let's say exploit you. But it does happen because there are so many issues which are there, which does create the situation. So that's the first thing I would tell you. It's a practical thing, get things done. But let us look at the procedure in a very simple way. As I told you, it takes, it's made much more easier today. There is a website which is called eDakil.in. eDakil is, it's a Dakil, it's a court. You register a kind of thing. You can straight away go to this website and follow the process there. You can upload the document, upload your complaint directly on that. You don't have to go. Earlier, you had to go to the place, physical presence where this consumer forum, commission or court was there. That is not required now. You can file it on eDakil itself. And once that is there, what this particular authority does is based on a complaint, if they find it's legitimate, if there is a lot of validity in the complaint, they will take it up with the seller and they'll send him what is typically called a notice saying that, listen, there's a complaint filed against you. And generally, we have found that many sellers do respond there and try to settle it there also. Otherwise, there's a process which goes on after this. Okay, then the seller responds, and then the forum hears it, the commission hears it, then the process goes on. Okay, and then of course they come out with their own order which says what should be done under the circumstances. So there are steps, and the Act lists the steps, and there's a timeline which is mentioned in the Act. So I will not go through it, because obviously if you are interested, you have my number now. You can always interact, or next time when I come over to your college, you can speak to me. I will be able to help you. If you have a specific thing, I will also share our society's email ID with you. You can write to us. We will help. Yeah, that's good thing you raised this point. Any one of our members or their relations or their friends have a problem, please bring it up to us. We will be very happy to assist you in any field. Send it to us by WhatsApp or send it to us by email. We'll guide you through this process. We'll help you out. You can learn in the process, and you can also mainly help somebody else in the process of trying to get their money or get a replacement for the product. Okay, Sharad, that helps? Okay, then we have again somebody else. Yeah. There are a couple of things. Again, I don't know. Srinidhi, since I didn't ask you whether I can say, but I don't know whether there is a specific case that you can bring up, but I'll tell you, I agree with you. See, the judicial system in India, like many other government systems, is highly bureaucratic. There are delays. There are delays for many reasons. Okay, the number of courts are less, our population has gone up. So there are many issues why there are large number of cases being filed, and the process takes some time. I do agree with you. There are many cases which were taken up. Some of this has got settled through mediation very quickly, maybe within 6 months. Some of them have taken much longer period, taken 2 years, 3 years. And during COVID, it was obviously there. So you find that there is a delay from many reasons. Okay. And obviously, as I told you, we are conscious of the delay. The government of India is conscious of the delay. They know this problem is there, and that's why they had a Adalat a few months back, where they brought all the pending cases, old cases, and tried to solve it. So if you have any pending cases, please bring it to our notice. The government of India at that level is trying to settle it very fast. In fact, I can share the details of you. We have got the details. Some 60,000 cases were settled in 1 month, okay, across the country. So you find these numbers they are trying to settle it. Okay, because one of the important thing of a consumer forum, commission, court was that the cases should be settled faster. Right? Of course, it is very necessary, and that is why the process is very much more simplified. But then there is delay. Okay. Yeah, Srinidhi, is that okay? If you have cases, do bring it to us where you are not. Yeah, Deepak. Any question? Your mic is on.
There is one
Deepak, can you
case,
mute
sir,
yourself?
where the person charged 20 rupees extra in railways, and he filed a case. He fought for 20 years. Why so time, man? Sir,
Yeah,
for
this
the
case,
small thing.
Yeah, Srinidhi, I have noticed in some of the news report that the delays of cases are there. I agree with you. See, the delays for many reasons. As I told you, there is a backlog of cases. Today, if you go to the consumer cases, there's a backlog. Second thing is there is a process. I told you, there's a procedure that has to be followed. Stepwise, evidence has to be filed. There's a counter evidence. There's cross-examination. There is a process, and sometimes delays do happen. And as I told you, everybody in the system know the reasons. They know there's delays. They know the reasons of the delays, and the government has taken steps, especially in 2022. They have this adalats where they're taking up old cases and trying to sort it out. So everybody is conscious of this problem, and I agree with you that it should not take this long. We all agree. Okay, you should see under the Act, it says 3 months should be the settlement period. but it's very rarely it takes in 3 months. So that is the objective or the goal everybody is working towards. You file a case today, it should be settled within 3 months or maximum, okay, 4 or 5 months. But sometimes it takes few years. But we have fought cases on behalf of our members, and we have found that it's okay. I mean, we do get settlement much faster sometimes. Not years, months we get it. So that's the broad thing. But don't worry about it. Sometimes, as I told you, just filing the case itself, some cases get settled. So, but if you're talking about any specific case that you are come across where there is delay, please bring it to our notice. We will help you out with it. Okay. Yeah. Here, what kind of which product and which complaint? Normally it falls under the product category. Okay. It's because in the quality of service, what we find is it's very difficult to judge the quality of service. And it's easy, because in this case of service, most probably, you have the service provider in constant. For example, you take a hotel, a hospital, etc., etc. So you are in constant. Whereas the product, it comes from the manufacturer somewhere. There's in between a lot of intermediaries. So finally, when it comes to your hand, you have problems. It's basically for products that we get most complaint, and the complaint invariably happens for 2-3 things. One is wrong product supplied. Especially in today's e-commerce, we find wrong product supplied. That is a common complaint. Second thing, we find that the quality of the product not up to what is there. And there is another problem which we think is partly because of the consumer also, which is saying the product does not conform to the images that is shown. This way I'm talking about e-commerce. What we need to understand is it is very simply labeled everywhere that images do not represent the actual product. Because you have to understand, when you take a photograph, there is a lot of distortion that could happen. For example, colors can get distorted. This happens in the case of dresses very frequently. We find people complain, sir, I asked for this dress and then this color, then there's some other color has come. And invariably, you find that color under different lighting condition and different photographic conditions, different media condition. Media means, what is the resolution, whether it's in paper, whether it's on the screen. The quality changes. And where do you view it? Do you view it on a Apple iPhone, or do you view it on a cheaper phone? The color can be quite different. So that's another complaint that we commonly complain, and that is why we commonly tell people, be careful when you choose colors on the web. Okay, when you see it on the virtual thing, be careful, especially for dresses, because women especially are very particular about the color. They want a specific color and they think that the color that they see is what they get, but that is not true. Okay, there can be variation, and sometimes, of course, there are sellers who send you the wrong product also. Okay, so those are some of the common consumer complaints that we come across. Any other question?
Yes, sir. There is a question from Chirag Mahesh.
Where is it? Is it on the chat?
Yes, sir. How much important is to be educated consumer?
1 second. Where is it? I don't see it. Okay, can you repeat it? If you can see it, can you just tell me how important is for consumers to be educated?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, fine, good. Yeah, I think it's very. I think that's the only thing I'll keep telling. You have to be educated. See, there is a Latin saying which says "cavit emptor." Okay, it basically means buyer beware. That means if you are a buyer, okay, you are a consumer, you have to be always cautious. I mean, in today's world, it may still sound very, what do you call, unfortunate, and sometimes may say, sir, is it true? Yeah, I would say it is. Because please understand, there are many people involved, and I don't want to label this, but there are situations when the person who's selling it to you, I'm not talking about company, let's talk about the salesperson, agent who comes in, or the thing, he's under pressure. There are targets to be met. Okay, so there is a lot amount of mis-selling that happens. Okay, they sell you the product which you don't need, or they sell you the product twisting facts or hiding facts. So you have to be educated. And if you're not educated, that's a major problem. Okay, the second problem is, even if you have the right information, are you able to take a good quality decision? Now that is where your ability to make good judgment comes in. Okay, so you have to be constantly educating. See, the one unfortunate thing in our education system, it doesn't tell you how to make good decisions. I've nowhere come across, except in MBA. In some places, they talk about managerial decision making, which is a separate course. Of course, there is a lot of other, let's say, quantitative kind of decision making. You use algorithms and all that. I'm not talking about the simple decisions that we do as consumers. And if I come up and we do have a talk on misleading advertisement, I will share some of the things, how sellers, manufacturers, advertisers, influencers are making wrong decisions. They do it purposely. They push us to make the wrong decisions. Okay. Now, obviously, why? Because they want to sell their product. Now, I mean, it's very, very simple. Any manufacturer, what is the intention of the person who's advertising? He wants his product to be sold. Okay, and that is why I did mention that you have to be, even in today's era, where we talk about CSR, we talk about governance issue, we talk about social responsibility, environmental concern and all that, companies are not. They have to be pushed to change. And we as consumers have to do that task. It's an onerous task. It's a very big task. That's precisely why we are educating you at your age, not when you're 60, 50. Many of us think that, yeah, you are consumers from now, from 20s till your 70s, you will be buying lakhs of products, lakhs of rupees worth products. And I can give you an example. Take real estate as a classic example. People have lost lakhs and crores of rupees in it. You have to be educated. You have to know how to read a contract. Okay. You may take it to a lawyer, but please understand the simple question is, did you select a good lawyer? You need to judge that also. Even judgment comes in the legal services that you hire. Have you judged whether the lawyer you're taking your document to is the correct lawyer to take it to? So education comes, decision comes at every step. Okay? Ananya, I think that's clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Fine. Any other question? I should tell you some of these questions are very good. I am very happy you are asking this, but as I told you, it is important for you to start practicing this. Please understand, knowledge is there. We have so much knowledge, even the age of 5, 10, 15, 20. And I constantly give one example. All of us know what is a balanced diet, but hardly anybody follow it. We have the knowledge, what is a balanced diet. If somebody has not got the knowledge, I think he or she should go back to high school or middle school. But we have. But even at the age of 60, 70, 80, even 50, nobody has a clue about what a balanced diet is. And if they have, they don't follow it. And as a consequence, you have health problems. You have sickness. Now you have the knowledge, but where are you practicing it? So what my wish is, my entreaty, my request to you is that become knowledgeable, become educated, but important than the process is that you should practice these. And we will see. That is why we will have activities. We will have projects. We will have programs, which I think you're already discussing. I understand from your President Ananya that some of this you're talking about, it's good. Maybe, and it will help every one of us, your friends, your relations. Okay. And it is crucial for us to create an environment where businesses become more responsive and more responsible to consumers. Okay, that is on the education. So it's a constant and continuous process, and it is that means the important thing. The rest is practice of it. You are educated consumer, then you practice it, you become a smart consumer. Yeah, any questions? Nothing? Could we, then we'll go ahead and close.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me thank you all. I know that during college years, we hear a lot of lectures and we will not do that. This was only basically make you aware of this 6 laws and why CPA, the Consumer Protection Act, is important, let me give you two important announcements before I sign off. The two important announcement is any one of you can get in touch with me on any issue we discuss or not discuss about consumer area. You can directly get in touch with me through my email ID or through the phone. You can access it. There's no problem. That is important. Second thing is, as I told you, you have to constantly practice this. We will have a lot more activities. It will be more activity based that we will practice this. And as told you, when you practice this, the skill and knowledge that you get will be used in your professional life, can be used in your personal life, can be used in your social life, because it's the same you who go to these places, who come with, you have to decide. For example, you have to decide which job to take. Okay, there is a lot of decision in going in that. So you find that how do you do that? Again, it's a decision making process. It calls for good judgment. So we will do that. And let me thank you once again for joining me today and interacting with me. And thank you to both the coordinators, faculty coordinators, Professor Indu and Professor Sindhu, for trying to put this program together and constantly being with us. And definitely all the students. It's important, as I told you, it is much more important than anything that you may be learning during your course of your life. Thank you and good day.
Thank you so much, sir, for a valuable insight on much wanted topic. It was surely insightful and helpful to each one of us as we continue to play a role of consumer in our everyday life. Thank you, sir. Now I call upon Ananya A, the president of the club, to deliver the presidential note. Yes, Ananya.
Thank you, Chandashri. Good evening, everyone. I'm Ananya Shetty, President of Invigorate the Consumer Forum. Let me begin by expressing my gratitude for the opportunity presented to me by the teacher coordinators and the Consumer Case Society to be the president of this club. We, the members of Invigorate, take immense pleasure in hosting our very first official event after the launch of our club on the account of National Consumer Rights Day that is celebrated on 24th December every year. We sincerely thank Sri Gopal Ratnam sir for taking valuable time out of his schedule to share his knowledge about Consumer Protection Act 2019 and consumer rights. Sir is the secretary of our parent club, hence we are quite delighted to have you as our first guest, sir. This webinar has been extremely informative, and I'm sure it has led our attendees with some food for thought that will provide to be very useful in the future. Thank you for all for sparing your free time and attending this webinar. We hope you will take away some valuable lessons from this. I simply could not go without conveying our deepest gratitude to the people who made this webinar successful. So, thank you to all the thank you to the teacher coordinators, Assistant Professor Indu ma'am and Assistant Professor Sindhu Bhairavi ma'am, and my fellow office bearers. Thank you, all of you, for your patience. This has been my time.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Ananya. Yeah, as we proceed to end of the webinar, I call upon Javeria, the secretary, to give a vote of thanks. Yes, Javeria.
Thank you, Chandashri. Before I proceed to the vote of thanks, I would like to request our faculty coordinators to share a few words. And at the same time, guys, please fill the feedback form and the attendance form. It will be shared on your chat box. The form is shared. Kindly fill it before you exit the meeting. Sindhu ma'am, can we hear from you? Okay, I think she's having a technical glitch, so we will proceed to the vote of thanks. Learning happens at every stage of a person's life, at every moment and every stage of development. And today, we were here today to increase our knowledge base with respect to the topic that is inseparable of us. our role as a consumer. I extend a heartfelt gratitude to the speaker, Gopal Ratnam sir, for making us aware about the major aspects of a consumer. We believe that each one of us will carry these insights with us. I would like to thank our teacher coordinators for their constant support that made this event happen. I would like to thank the team for coordinating from end to end. In conclusion, I would like to thank all our participants for making some time and attending the session today. We hope that you have benefited from the webinar. Thank you all.
Thank you everyone for attending the session. Yeah, you can log out. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Kindly make sure that you fill the form before you log out. Thank you.